Hello and welcome to We Never Met, the podcast where I have interesting strangers on every single week. Jerry, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you at right now? Because you have an interesting background.
I'm at the Bear Paw, so I'm at the tavern right now.
Okay. And just to give people a little background before we even get off into our tangents here, what do you do and what are you currently doing at Bear Paw Inn right now?
I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about, I guess, my story and how I started making pizza and whatnot. But I am now, or I will be opening in the near future in the back of a tavern. So I believe you're from Milwaukee, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so have you ever been to the Bubbler on Howell?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah. So
have you been to Vinci's?
Yes.
So basically, essentially, it's kind of the same concept here at the Bear Paw, where the Bear Paw is its separate business. It's kind of an old school kind of dive tavern. And then I'm utilizing the kitchen. So I'm Jerry's Pizza within the Bear Paw Inn.
Gotcha.
So in Milwaukee, they have the Bubbler, but in the back of the Bubbler, you have Vinci's, which is Vinci's Pizza. So essentially kind of the same thing. So I'm just here. I come in every morning. I make pizzas. I try pizzas. I've had a lot of industry people in the last couple of weeks to try pizzas. Other pizza makers here in town, other chefs, well-known chefs in town. And we just eat pizza and talk about it. And at this point, I've gotten the blessing from pretty much everybody in the industry as far as the product. Now it's just working out some of the operational and logistical issues, maybe not necessarily issues, just trying to kind of get set up to actually open.
Yeah, I see you're representing Milwaukee with your shirt there. You got a Wolski shirt on.
Wolski's Tavern shirt on, yeah.
Very nice. I've actually never been to Wolski's, which is crazy because I grew up in Milwaukee.
That's a shame. Yeah, Wolski's is one of my favorites. And then you've been to the Coin, yeah, on Brady?
Yeah, I have been, yep.
Those are some of my favorite bars. I used to bring my dog there all the time because they allow dogs.
Yeah.
There's just Milwaukee, obviously, as you know, it's just a city full of bars.
There's actually too many sometimes to go to.
The drinking culture it's pros and cons, but I mean, mostly pros. It's a great city. I love Milwaukee. I mean, it's a short, an hour and 15 minutes with no traffic from north of Chicago, which is funny because I don't feel like many people realize that Milwaukee is very, very close to Chicago. I mean, like I said, an hour and 15 minutes north.
Yeah, because you grew up in Chicago, right?
So, yeah, my family's all from the north side of the city, and then my folks split up. So I actually ended up out near Rockford, kind of in that area for school. And then I went back to Chicago for college at DePaul and then lived in the city after post-college, but also spent a lot of time in Chicago because my family, my dad, my grandma was in the city my whole life. And my sister, one of my sisters is now in Palatine, so out in the suburbs. My brother's still right in Lincoln Park at Halstead and Belden. So Chicago's, that's home. Kind of always been home.
Yeah, I lived in Chicago briefly as well in Wicker Park. So
nice.
Just to talk about like the pizzas and things like that, when people typically think of Chicago, they think of deep dish pizza. I know you're already shaking your head. and that's not the pizza that you're making, which is why I wanted to clarify that. So what is the debate here with the tavern style versus like deep dish?
I wouldn't even call it a debate. What I would call it is, the thing is this: deep dish originated in the city of Chicago. There's no debating that. That's where it was created. That's where it originated. I believe it was Uno's, downtown Chicago. It's still there today. There's Uno's and Due's. They're kitty corner from one another. But I believe it was this guy Ike Sewell, and don't quote me on this, but I think it was Ike Sewell, and then I might butcher this, but Rudy, one of the Malnati's, created this, and I think it was like 46, or it was in the 40s. And we've all heard of the Malnati name, Lou Malnati's. Yeah. And yes, so deep dish is from Chicago. It is a Chicago thing. However, deep dish is what most locals would call a kind of special occasion pizza. When they have somebody visiting from out of town. Right. That's when you take somebody maybe to Lou Malnati's or to one of the other Giordano's, Gino's East, some of these other local Chicago chains for deep dish pizza. But that's not what locals eat on the regular. What locals eat on the regular is tavern-style pizza, thin, crispy, square cut. And there is a difference, though, between tavern-style and, like, Chicago thin crust, or what I would call almost Midwest thin crust, which is a little thicker. Almost, I don't want to call it doughy, but, a lot of places, in my opinion, they underbake and they over-cheese, which can cause kind of a greasy flop in some situations. But it's kind of funny because as you know, I lived in Milwaukee for a few years as well. And Milwaukee, I mean, tavern-style pizza, that's Milwaukee pizza as well. I mean, it's a very Midwest thing, which I don't think a lot of people realize, is that Midwesterners, whether it's Minnesota, Iowa, Ohio, Minnesota, Indiana, Michigan outside of Detroit, Illinois, Missouri, I mean, all of these states, for the most part, I mean, you can find other styles and some slight regional differences, but for the most part, it's thin square cut pizza. And again, everyone kind of does their own interpretation of kind of what that is to them, or to maybe their family pizzeria if they have a few locations. But yeah, it's kind of funny that people don't realize. And it's kind of interesting to me too, that it never made its way west.
Yeah.
I've looked, I don't quote me. I haven't been able to find tavern style pizza. Googling tavern style pizza on the West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington, I haven't found any.
Yeah, it almost seems like it developed as one of those things where, because it gets so cold in Wisconsin and Illinois and stuff, and people spend so much time in winter in bars, like they needed some food to eat while they were drinking for the day. Yeah.
Do you happen to know a little bit about the history of the style of tavern style pizza?
No, that was just my guess. No.
Okay, yeah, I mean, probably yes. You're probably not wrong to a certain degree, but without going into too much detail, essentially back in I'll just throw kind of years out there. Let's just say 30s for reference. Bar and tavern owners in Chicago, being a blue collar city, in Milwaukee, I mean, a number of Midwestern cities, Rust Belt City, these are blue collar cities, right? So bar and tavern owners were kind of looking for a way to get people in through the door, and for them to stick around a little longer, maybe have a couple more beers.
Sure.
So what they would do is, and this is kind of one of the reasons why I identify specifically with this style, not only because I grew up eating it, but also because, and kind of how I started making tavern style pizza was, they weren't bakers. They weren't chefs. They weren't pizza makers. These were bar and tavern owners that were looking for a way to bring people into their taverns. And like I said, to keep them around a little longer, maybe they have a couple extra beers because they're eating these salty, thin square cut pies. So what they would do is they'd essentially make these pizzas and they just put them out on the bar. They'd cut them into little squares so it's easy to eat. You grab a cocktail napkin, you grab a square, you can have a beer in the other hand, and you can have a couple squares. And it's very communal. Historically, I mean, with the square cut, you throw it on the bar, and I mean, it's like I said, I keep kind of sound like a broken record, but it's very easy to eat. You can share it with other people. That's kind of a little bit about the history of the style. It evolved from there. And also one thing to throw in there too, it's like, people get off from their factory jobs. They go to the tavern, they have a couple of beers, they have a couple of squares. They can still go home and eat with their family because they're not full.
Right.
They're not, super full. So yeah, it's kind of interesting when you kind of look into the style. And it's cool because there's so many different regional styles and different styles of pizza all across the country.
There's something about, and maybe it's just like a piece of nostalgia too, and I don't know if you have this as well, but there's something, I feel like pizza tastes better when it's cut in squares, and I don't know why that is. I feel like it tastes better for some reason.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, a lot of people, Midwesterners, kind of throw that out there like, oh, it's scientifically proven that it tastes better if it's cut in squares. And I don't know, it's just kind of a funny joke. And that's, for me, it's like, that's one of many things that's fun about pizza, and what I've kind of learned through the process is like, again, those regional differences and everyone, the nostalgia for certain people and those different things. It's fun to kind of poke fun at one another. New Yorkers are always, oh, New York, like we know pizza. We're New York, like we know pizza, right?
Yeah.
And then just like the whole debate of like pineapple on pizza, and it's just fun to kind of to have fun with it and to poke fun at one another. But you, I'm assuming, grew up with the style. Where in Milwaukee are you from?
I actually grew up in Franklin, Wisconsin, which is like
I know Franklin. Yeah, so you're down by Oak Creek. You're just further west. You're across the expressway.
Yep.
So, did you have a specific place that you and your family used to go to for pizza, or did you go to this Milwaukee? And
there's a specific place. I forgot to look it up. It's in Greenfield. I got to look this up now. But just a little bit like back on your story specifically, Ricardo's. That's what it's called. There we go.
Ricardo's, okay. I've heard of that.
Yeah. And so with your story specifically, what made you, were you creating pizzas before the pandemic started? Was this a thing you were doing? No. So
it was kind of funny that you asked that question, because I think it was last week, Lauren, my fiance, who's from Madison, Wisconsin, she's a Scotty.
Nice.
But she sent me like a time hop photo, and it was like, Jerry made a pizza. And that was my first pizza. And that, so it was just over a year ago, I made my first pizza. And essentially it all started because, one, we'd been out here about 2 years. There's great pizza in Portland, but nothing that reminds us of home. There's just not thin, square cut tavern style pizza. So quarantine happened, like COVID happened, everything. So I knew we were going to be spending a lot of time at home. I was like, well, I need a new hobby, so maybe I'll make pizza. We can't find pizza like we grew up eating, so, I'll make pizza. And at first, I couldn't find any yeast because everybody's making bread. So I couldn't find
that's true.
Like all the grocery stores, I couldn't find any yeast. So I ended up going to Trader Joe's because they have pre-made dough. And I bought that, and I went home. I made a pizza. And it wasn't very good, but it wasn't terrible. So I knew I could improve that.
Yeah.
Lauren got on the Nextdoor app, and then she asked for yeast, and then a neighbor brought some yeast over, active dry and then instant yeast. So that's when I was able to make my own dough. So from that point on, I was making my own dough. I was making my own sauce. Then I started making my own sausage. Lauren ended up posting a picture on Instagram. I think it was on Instagram, and some of her coworkers were like, "Where's that from? Like, that looks great. Like, where's it from?" And she said Jerry made it. So figured, okay, well, I can make pizzas for your coworkers. And then my neighbors started asking for pizza. And so I started making pizzas for the neighbors and for, friends and coworkers and stuff. I put a picture on Instagram, and then it just people just getting curious. You have like Midwesterners reaching out, and then curious Portlanders reaching out, like, how do I get a pizza? Like, I guess I can just start taking names down, and I can start making pizzas for people. And throughout this entire process, I'm tweaking these pizzas to my liking. So I'm making pizzas for people, and I'm tweaking them to my liking. Yeah. So I'm adding a little bit more, and I'm developing all these recipes, right? And again, I don't have any experience. I'm not a chef, and I'm tweaking these pizzas, and then the list is kind of growing. And then it was in end of May, I believe, of 2020 when the George Floyd situation happened and everything. And then I was like, well, I'm making these people pizzas. Like, maybe I can, I'll just take donations. So I'll make you a pizza. I always said donations are always appreciated, but they're never necessary. So for whatever reason, tough times for a lot of people. If you don't have any money right now, I'll still make you a pizza, whatever. No big deal. Yeah. So I'm making pizza. I'm taking donations, and I'm donating to a couple social justice organizations here in Portland and then back in Chicago. The list just kept growing and growing. And then I started getting local chefs and pizza makers. They were getting pizza from me, and they're like, hey man, this is really good. And I tell people, I had almost kind of imposter syndrome because, again, I don't have any training or anything. It was just me just kind of making these pizzas and tweaking them to what I like. But then when I started getting these reviews from to be honest, my first 2 weeks into making pizza, people really like my neighbors and everything. They were like, this is really good. But nothing against my neighbors or anything, and I appreciate that. But again, until I started getting people that work within the industry telling me this is actually really good, you should maybe do something with this.
There's something validating, Yeah,
that's when I was like, okay, that started to build a little bit of confidence, but I still didn't really have much confidence in actually making these things. But that kept happening. So I kept getting these incredible reviews from just regular people, but also people within the industry. So then August came around, and I decided I got to go to Chicago. I got to go home. I got to compare what I'm doing to the Mecca, right? The Chicago for me is we're tavern style, which I don't know if we can ever look at or find any proof to say that that's where it originated, but that's where it originated to me. So
yeah, sure.
So it could have been Milwaukee, it could have been out in Jersey bar style or whatever, but square cut tavern style pizza, we'll just say Chicago. So I went back to Chicago, and I went to 20 pizzerias, and I think it was 5 days.
Wow,
and I was
that's a lot of pizza.
Yeah, so I was going to places that I'd been to a number of times, and then new place that I had never been to. But that inspiration kind of came from Steve Dolinsky's book. I don't know if you know who Steve Dolinsky is, but he wrote a book called Pizza City USA. And essentially his whole thesis is why Chicago is the best pizza city in the United States of America. And, New Yorkers are New Yorkers will be like, well, no disrespect. New York, you can find a great slice on every corner, but it's the same style. It's New York style. It's the foldable,
Yeah.
It's and don't get me wrong, you can find Detroit style, Roman, Sicilian. You can find a number of other styles in New York as well. But the argument in his book is Chicago, you can find 10 different distinct styles done extremely well at a number of places across the city: North Side, West Side, South Side, suburbs. You can find great pizza, tavern-style, thin crust, Roman, Sicilian, Detroit style, stuffed pizza, deep dish, Neapolitan, brick oven, coal fire. You can find all these different styles throughout the city of Chicago. So I looked at like some of it, his top places, some that I had been to, some that I hadn't been to, and I went to like 20 of the tavern style places that have been around, again, some since the 30s, others since 50s, but these places have been around forever. They've been doing it for years, family places. And I went with friends and whatever, and I made pizzas for people back in Chicago, and that was probably what was super eye opening to me. Was like, and I'm my toughest critic. Like I beat myself up. Well, maybe I'm my second toughest critic. Lauren, my fiance, might be a toughest, but that was when I was like, kind of like, oh shit, we have something. Mm-hmm. From the product standpoint. I'm like, we have a product that can compete with places that have been doing it for 70 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So I came back to Portland, and that was also people like, I made pizzas for people back in Chicago. Some I knew, some I didn't. And they were like, hey man, like this is as good as most places here in Chicago. So that gave me some confidence. So I came back to Portland. I kept making pizzas. The list kept growing. I mean, when I finally, a couple of months ago, I looked at the spreadsheet. It was over a year and a half to get pizza if I continued doing it in my house, which is a little deceiving because I can only do so many a day. I had a full-time job and all that. But either way, came back, kept tweaking, kept making pizzas, kept eating pizzas, making pizzas for people. And then a couple situations happened that made me realize, wait a second, maybe we have more than pizza. Yeah, I think I make good. I know, like I truly do. And I can improve it. I'm always looking to improve in a number of ways, but it's a good pizza. But then there's like two stories in particular that stick out to me that made me realize maybe we have something more than pizza here. Mm. And the two that really stick out, and there's a number of stories of people that have, reached out after the fact or have told me, a number of other stories. But the first is I had a guy show up and he was just decked out in Chicago Bulls gear. And I was just like, hey, did you put all that on just to come pick his pizza up? And he's like, yeah. And I just kind of laughed. But I serve my pizzas in paper bags, which you should know about. I mean, they do that in Milwaukee too, not everywhere, but certain places do the paper bag. Yep. A lot of places in Chicago do it as well. Some do, boxes. But I come down and I have this pizza in this bag. And as you may or may not know, like there's a certain smell to like tavern style pizza. Mm. I don't know if it's the bag and the smell comes through the bag and everything, sure. But it all kind of hit this guy at once, and he kind of started to tear up, and I was like, hey man, like what's, everything cool, whatever. He's like, yeah, sorry, just like the bag, the smell, I had my mask on, but I mean, I had like probably a Bulls or Bears or something hat on, sure, or whatever, and it was just like, he was like, sorry, I just, I used to get pizza with my dad like every Friday, and he passed away a couple of years ago, so it just kind of hit him in a place, mm-hmm. Like it kind of brought him back, and it brought up memories like almost instantly without even having tried the pizza. So I'm like, that was kind of when the light bulb was like, okay. And then this was like the light bulb. Well, maybe not light bulb, but it made me realize, hey, we have something more than just a pizza.
Yeah.
This girl had hit me up on Instagram, and she, I think it was like later at night. I was already sleeping or something, but I woke up and I had like a message. And she was like, hey, Jerry, sorry to bug you, but I've been drinking wine all night, so I had the courage to like reach out to you. And I had your pizza a few weeks or whatever ago. A friend of mine got one or something, and I had it, and it was great. And she had reached out, and she was on my wait list or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And I feel like an asshole. Like I had this wait list and everything. Like I don't want it to be like that. No. I hope it's not like that. But I didn't know what to do. Like this was all very unexpected. I didn't know what to do. So I was like, I just put people into a spreadsheet based on the date they reached out.
That's a Midwestern in you right there. Yeah.
I can't say no. I don't know what to do. I'm just like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we'll get it. Yeah.
Like, so either way, she reaches out. She's like, hey, I've been drinking. I had the courage to reach out, but I had your pizza, blah, blah, blah. But I have kind of a heavy story. She's like, I kind of have a heavy story. She goes, I've been doing an at-home hospice with my mom. I don't know if she was from Chicago or she had lived in Chicago. Either way, she had a tie to Chicago, like a close tie to Chicago. And she's like, I told my mom about your pizza, and now she asks me every day, when's the pizza? When's the pizza? When's the pizza? And I was like, can you pick up pizza tomorrow? And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? So she gets the pizza. She goes home. And then I get a message, I don't know, an hour later or something. And she's like, I haven't seen my mom eat that much since I can remember. And then this is the kicker for me, at least. Like, she started telling her daughter all these stories about her time in Chicago that she had never told her daughter before, like ever.
Wow.
And then she passed away like a few weeks later. So then I'm like, oh, these are like the oh shit moments where you're like, okay, yeah, we're making pizza. It's good. Whatever. It's pizza. But if you're able to like tap into, for me, it's like that pizza then triggered mom to tell stories to daughter that she had never told these stories to before. And then the fact that she, ended up passing away a couple of weeks later, like without that pizza, she never hears those stories about her mom's time in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, we have a product, but we're doing something else here. Like we're providing nostalgia to Midwesterners, going after Little League games. We're like bringing back memories for people. We're transporting them back to like certain places with it, where they were growing up, or certain memories, and we're tapping into like something different. So yeah. And there's a number of other stories like that. So I was like, man, I think we got to do something with this. Cause to me, like, I'm just happy I like making pizza, cause it would have sucked. Like I didn't have a choice. I really feel like I didn't have a choice, because so many people wanted this pizza. Like I didn't have a choice other than I have to do something with this. And like I said, luckily I really do enjoy it. But what I enjoy most is like that, like those stories. Like I have a ball making pizzas. I really do. But when people hit me with those stories like that, and again, those are just two stories. Like there's so many. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? If I can just make pizza and people enjoy it, and it brings them back to a certain place, or it brings back memories, or provides nostalgia or whatever, then I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is fun. This is powerful. And then I just got lucky with the whole Bear Paw situation, because this is the perfect venue for this. This style of pizza, it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense in a food cart. It doesn't make sense in some hoity-toity nice, restaurant or something. That's not what it is. Historically, it's not what it is. A lot of the places back home, it's not what it is. You've been to Zaffiro's, right? You've been to Zaffiro's. You've been to maybe probably Ned's. You've been to Lisa's. You've been to Maria's. You've been to the Vinci's in the back of the Bubbler. You've been to these Milwaukee staples, Balistreri's. Balistreri's on Blue Mountain. Are you kidding me? Have you been there or no?
No, I haven't been there.
Dude, you have to go. I mean, these places are just like legendary spots for like Milwaukee tavern-style pizza, and you go in and like it's got a vibe, man. It's got yeah, and that's something that, like, if people continue to enjoy the product, if people continue to like what I'm doing, like, I don't want to like say 100%, but there are plans to open, an official place here in Portland. This for me was the best first step. I met the owner. He tried the pizza. He was like, let's do something, and we kind of worked something out, and it's the right venue. I'm hoping I can help. It just makes sense in this venue. So. It also for somebody like me who doesn't come from this industry, for somebody like me who doesn't have much experience doing this, it's great because it gives me an opportunity to scale slightly. I would love to be able to get pizza to people whenever they want, all hours, every day of the week, and that might be what it becomes. But what I like to put out there and let people know is I am one guy making all the dough, making the sauce, making the sausage. I make everything from scratch. I'll be the one making all of the pizzas as well. Mm-hmm. And it's a small space. It's a small kitchen. So unfortunately, like I've come up with a system. We're going to see. I can tweak it as I go. And that's another reason why this buys me time to kind of learn as I go and figure out the process and the operations and the logistics of everything. It's not going to be one of those operations where you can just call, make an order, and pick up your pizza. Like to start, it's going to be kind of a pre-order system, for dine-in or pickup, whatever people are comfortable with doing, given the current climate and situation. But ultimately, I'd like it to be for dine-in only. I think it's important to come in, when people are feeling comfortable again, to come in, have a couple of beers. If you don't drink, just hang out. Yeah. Have a couple of pies, talk to a stranger. Like that to me is tavern-style pizza. It's communal. It's everyone just sitting around, having a couple beers, having a couple, squares. So But that's the thing. It's like, I do apologize in advance. Like, I feel bad. Like I kind of feel like an asshole that I just can't get pizza to everybody whenever they want it. But I hope people understand that, like, I'm doing my best. Like, I'm learning as I go. And then like I said, if everyone out there continues to enjoy the product, then there are plans to make it more readily available, or to even extend hours here at the Bear Paw. Maybe hire people so we can be open. Pizza can be available at the Bear Paw all hours that they're open every day, 7 days a week. But to start, that's just, not how it's going to be.
When I hear you talk, like, you're so passionate about the pizza. So when you started, like, creating this out of your house, was that passion always there even in your childhood too for pizza? And you think that for some reason in your mind, like, even though you didn't think necessarily, hey, I'm going to make pizza now, like, that's what you wanted to do? Or did, like, making the pizza at your house, like, ignite all of this stuff for you?
It's weird because I've always loved food, and pizza's always been one of my favorite foods. It is number 2 though. So spoiler alert.
What's number 1?
Or just probably Mexican food in general.
Okay.
If I was to throw it into everything, but tacos, I don't know. There's just something about a really good taco. But either way.
I agree.
I love food that is pretty much no frills. I make a no frills pizza. You know what I mean? I make a pizza that, it's kind of, I look at it kind of like tavern-style, like blue collar, no frills pizza. And that's what I like in a lot of foods. Burgers, I don't need much. Beef, American cheese, something to add texture, whether it's pickle, onion, something like that. And then maybe some sort of sauce to bring it all together. And then just like a soft bun, maybe you throw it on this flat top for a second. Tacos, good meat, good tortilla, onion, cilantro, and some salsa, or, you don't need much to do these things. And sometimes I think we kind of overthink food almost. But now I'm going off in a whole nother conversation. No. But to answer that question, I don't know. I mean, what I can tell you is this. I knew I always wanted my own thing, whatever that may be. I always knew I didn't want to work for somebody for my entire life. I've had a lot of jobs, and I like a lot of things, and I've enjoyed, like, most of the jobs I've had, truly. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I've always kind of been searching for that thing that's mine. I knew I always wanted something that was mine that I could share with people and that people could enjoy, because I've always been social. I've always loved meeting strangers. I've always loved traveling. I've always loved doing those things. And to me, food, when we travel, it's basically the entire trip, whether it's here in the States or abroad or wherever, it's always food. Like, food and drink is like, that's what we do. That basically plans the trip for us. Is like, I want to check out this place. I want to, go here or whatever. Or we don't plan, it, and we go and we walk around and we see, restaurants or little or places, and then we just go and we eat.
Sure.
Street food. Street food is like one of my favorite things. So, like I said, I've always loved food, and what I love about it is, again, now I'm bringing it kind of back to what we've already touched on, is it brings people together. Like, especially what I do, the tavern-style pizza. Again, once we're back to reality or normalcy or whatever, to bring people together, to have a pizza, to sit down and have a meal, and to have a beer or a drink. It's really powerful and it's really cool. And we all have to eat. Wherever you go in the world, like, all the differences that we have as people, right? Race, religion, whatever, all the differences that make us really cool and diverse, right?
Yeah.
Food is something that we all have in common. Right. Like, you have to eat. You can't not eat. I started making pizzas, and I was like, I never considered myself like an artistic person, I guess, in what I thought art was. I started making these pizzas, and it was almost like my like canvas as I'm like making this thing. And again, I don't make like I wouldn't say I make like a pretty pizza or anything. Like, again, it's a no frills, like, tavern style pizza. But I was talking to someone the other day, and I was like, it's kind of funny because, like, I know, like, if this thing continues to go in the direction it has been, and then I open my own place, like, I know I'm going to hire people to pretty much good people to pretty much do everything, because they're all better than me at everything. Like, I literally know I am not good at really much. There are people that are way better at making pizza than me. So many people that are way better at making pizza than me. There are people that have run bars or taverns and back of the house, front of the house. All, there's all these people that are just way better than me at everything. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm far from it. But I think I'm smart enough to know that you surround yourself with good people that are really good at what they do, and you pay them to do a really good job, and you create like an atmosphere that they want, or you create something that they want to be a part of, and you take care of them. Like, they're going to give back tenfold. And I could be wrong, but that's just kind of what's in my head.
No, that's true.
And And that's the thing where it's like, and that's one of my issues is I'm going to be starting off doing this solo. And then, cause it's a really small kitchen. It's funny because like I can make pizzas, like I can make them like kind of fast, but I don't like to. I like to just kind of make my pizzas at my own pace and like do my thing and kind of, obviously if you're going to expand, you're going to make pizza more readily available. You're going to have a bigger operation. It's like, you got to scale it, the volume, you got to get more efficient and everything. But I chose to go the route that I am for a number of reasons. But one of those reasons is it gives me an opportunity to kind of learn as I go and to kind of scale as I see fit before potentially turning it into a bigger operation. But yeah, I'm really not good at making pizza. That's what's funny about all of this is like, if we're talking about like what makes you good at making pizza, like is a lot of times efficiency, right? You go to a place in Chicago, like, which is crazy to me. Like you go to a place like Vito and Nick's on the South Side or a number of places across the city, they're doing over 1,000 pizzas a night.
That's wild.
That's insane. Think about that. When places in Portland, or at least people that I've talked to in Portland, busy night, a little over 200. That's in Chicago. It's just a different culture in the city. And there's just pizza so available. And you grew up eating pizza. Like you grew up eating that with your family where Portland, and I could be totally wrong here, but I've kind of become friends with, I don't know if you know Brian at a Pizza Shoals, but from my understanding, he kind of brought good pizza to the city of Portland. And now you can find great pizza in Portland in different styles across the city. But that's still relatively recent in the grand scheme of things, because when you think about cities like Milwaukee, you think about cities like Chicago and other Midwest cities where they've been doing pizza since the 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe even earlier, maybe even the 20s. That just wasn't happening here in Portland.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that like that could be one of the reasons why, a busy night in Chicago, they're doing over 1,000 pies. A busy night in Portland, they're doing over 200, which is so crazy because what am I going to be able to do daily out of the bear paw? In my head, I don't even know yet. But in my head, I'll be like, probably 40 pizzas.
That's good for one person, I feel like. Did you have to learn how to use all that equipment? Because not coming from a background like that, I wouldn't know how to use any of that stuff.
So essentially, that's the thing too. It's like, so I was doing this in my house, and I got to the point where I could just like make pizzas, and I'm watching TV. I'm making pizzas. I'm watching TV, whatever. And then I'm like, okay, if I'm going to make this an actual business, and I'm coming into the bar. I was like, shit, I got to get some equipment. So I got real actual pizza making equipment, because I didn't have anything in my house other than like a rolling pin, and a pizza stone for the oven. But essentially, I had to like the first like couple of weeks, I was just messing around with the equipment, making pizzas and tweaking like temperature, bake times, the settings on the dough sheeter to get to the even thinness that I want for what I make. Yeah, there were a number of things that I had. I was in here every morning. I mean, I was in here early, just messing around and figuring it out. And that's the thing too, where everyone learns differently. Some people learn by reading or video or combination or, a number of things. And I'm more like, I just got to do it. Like I just start messing around until I kind of figure it out and what works. And then I just do that. And that goes back to me saying to you that I don't even consider myself like a pizza maker because, I make pizzas, but I make one kind of pizza. I make tavern-style pizza. If somebody said make a Neapolitan pizza, I would be like, I don't know how.
Yeah, sure.
If somebody's like, make a Detroit-style pizza, I'd be like, I'm not sure. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
But I can make tavern style pizza. So I just kept I got obsessed with doing this. I just kept making them. I'm like I said, I sound like a broken record, tweaking it to my liking. And then I got something I liked, and I just kept doing it over and over. I didn't change. I was just like, I don't want to mess up, so I just got to keep doing this thing over and over and over again. But I made deep dish too. You can, because I just use the same dough, and it's good. It's just, so maybe at some point I'll do like a day where I'm like, hey, I'm doing deep dish pizzas today. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because there are a few places here in Portland that do Chicago deep dish.
Yeah, I've never had, like, again, I don't gravitate towards deep dish pizza.
I had one. I don't know which one it was though.
Yeah. But
yeah, I usually get pizza from Ranch. Do you know Ranch?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so they make Detroit style, I believe.
Yeah, I could be totally wrong. If anybody from Ranch sees this, sorry if I butcher the style of pizza, but I kind of consider it kind of their own thing in a way, because it's kind of like, I wouldn't consider it Detroit style.
Because what is Detroit style?
Detroit style, so there's some specificities. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that a word? Okay. Yeah. So the big thing is kind of that caramelized crust on the perimeter. But they also use, I believe it's Wisconsin brick cheese. Sauce goes on top. Those are some of the characteristics. Crispy undercarriage, crispy sides, but kind of a lighter area, but it is thicker. It's baked in a pan. But then you have again, going back to the different styles and those subtle differences. Then you have grandma style, which grandma style I believe is slightly thinner, but it is that light area. It's still it's crispy, but it's same day dough. So you make the dough and then you let it proof throughout the day, and then you make the pizza at night. So grandma style, because the old grandmothers would do it all in one day. Then you have Sicilian style, which if you haven't had pizza donays, I would highly recommend. Justin's making an incredible Sicilian pizza, actually right down the street from where I'm at in Brooklyn. It's awesome. Now he does a naturally leavened Sicilian style sourdough. So basically it's focaccia. I mean, it's literally like focaccia with toppings. It's incredible. It's really good. I highly recommend it. So those are some of the subtle differences. Where ranch, I'm like, ranch is just kind of going rogue and kind of doing their own thing. They're kind of touching little aspects of maybe those three styles: Sicilian, grandma, and Detroit.
Yeah.
It's
good, whatever it is.
They're kind of touching different areas. And again, sorry, ranch, if you see this and I'm wrong.
They'll tweet you or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be like, hey, no, actually it's this. I'll be like, fuck, I'm sorry.
Oh no.
I didn't mean
how is the pizza community in Portland though? Is it a pretty accepting, cool community? Yeah,
it's been crazy. The amount of pizza makers that have reached out to me. And I had Scotty from Scotty's. Scotty's makes awesome pizza. I had him in, I've had a lot of the pizza makers in to try pizza, or at least the ones that I've met. And it's cool because for some, it's their first experience with tavern-style pizza, which is really cool, especially with Scotty. To see him, he's from Brooklyn, New York originally. I take his first bite and be like, okay. Just kind of why haven't I had this? So yeah, it's been kind of cool in that aspect. But yeah, like I said, it's really cool. And one thing I thought about doing at some point, once I'm feeling comfortable and kind of we got things up and rolling and things are kind of, running pretty smooth. I mean, there's always bumps and there always will be, but you know what I mean? For the most part, things are running well, is potentially coming up with some sort of, I was going to call it the PPC, the Portland Pizza Collective.
Yeah.
Where local independent pizza makers can all come together maybe once a month or once a quarter or something. And we can just kind of talk about our products, our pizzas, kind of push one another to improve kind of everything that we're doing. We'll help each other out maybe with the logistics and operations of some of the different, challenges that we all face as an industry. But I think the biggest thing is, for me at least, or what comes into my head, is educating the consumer, right?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of consumers have been preconditioned to think I call or I get online, I place order, pizza ready, 20 minutes on my doorstep.
Yeah.
And it's well, those are the big guys and gals, right? Yeah. Domino's, Papa John's. Domino's now, who's making your pizza. And okay, now
true.
Jen is going to deliver it. It's well, holy crap. I look at the big guys and gals as essentially just very efficient logistics companies. Yeah. It's just a different product. Don't get me wrong. Time and a place for Domino's, right?
Yeah.
But
school lunches.
Consumers on the fact that we make a handmade product from scratch. We're working with a living organism, yeast. These things take time. Right. And they're handmade, and those are just some of the reasons why. Yeah, it costs more than Domino's. I don't know it's a different product. There's a lot more that goes into it. It takes time, and just trying to educate consumers on the fact that that again, like I said, that's why you're not able to call us at any time of the day and be like, I want pizza right now on my doorstep. Let's go. And I understand that can be frustrating to people, and I get it. And ultimately, again, I've said it 100 times. If this thing continues to go in the direction it has been, I would like to make pizza more readily available.
Yeah.
But that's the thing too, is letting people know that we don't do we do something completely different. Independent pizza makers, I mean, we're just doing something. We're making a different product. There's a little bit more that that goes into it, and no disrespect to the big, like I said, to the big guys and gals, because what they do is incredible. To make that many pizzas that fast and that consistent, it's pretty crazy. It's like when I worked in beer, because I worked for Lakefront Brewery for a number of years. We like to independent craft brewers. You like to kind of poke fun at the big guys. Miller's right in our backyard.
Yeah,
but it's incredible what they do.
Yeah,
to make that amount of beer and a light lager. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing really you can hide it with, right? You can't really throw fruit or hops and all of these different things into it to kind of mask some of those, potential off flavors or whatever. But to make that amount of volume that consistently for an extended period of time is pretty incredible. And I look at those larger pizza makers the same way.
Yeah.
Where it's incredible what they do. It's just different.
Right.
And I want consumers to know like some of those differences and why we're different and why things might cost this much and why things might take more time or why they might not be readily available at every hour of the day. So
Right. It's like, it's similar to like even the craft brewery and the major brewery sort of thing. It's like, you can't expect the same thing from a Miller as you do like Breakside or something, like it's different because they're smaller. So speaking of that though, what if you had to choose out of those like big Domino's, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, what is your favorite out of like the big ones?
That's tough. There's like different, like I just remember like Pizza Hut because I used to read books when I was a kid because I would get pizza because they get the personal pan pizza.
Yeah.
So at school, do you remember that? Did you have that where you like read book? If you read like a number of books, you get like a free personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut.
We didn't get pizza, but if you read a certain amount of books, we did get something. I remember that.
So yeah, there's like nostalgia involved with like Pizza Hut, but like, man, oh my gosh, maybe Little Caesars.
Oh, I used to get Little Caesars all the time, the $5 ones.
Yeah, but actually, they're not national, so maybe they don't count because if we're talking national chains, what is there? Pizza Hut, Papa John's, Domino's, Little Caesars?
I would say, yeah.
Pizza
what
Hut,
were you going to say?
Jets?
I don't even, like the gas station?
No. But Casey's General Store?
Oh, yeah. I went to school at Bradley. Yeah, Bradley University.
Oh, you went to Bradley. Okay, yeah. Casey's Pizza is awesome.
I've never had Casey's Pizzas, but they sponsored literally
pizza, taco pizza. They do some funny stuff, but like, Casey's Pizza is delicious. I love that stuff. Gas station pizza.
Yeah. They sponsored literally everything. It seemed like in Peoria for some reason, but
that's fun.
Yeah. What would you choose though? Probably Pizza Hut then.
Jets if I could, but it's not a national chain, so maybe not. Maybe Little Caesars. I don't know. Honestly, what I'd have to do is this. I'd have to get pizza. I'd get a half sausage, half pepperoni from all places. I'd try them all, and then I could give you an actual answer. Because honestly, I haven't had really any of those pizzas in such a long time.
I don't know what I would choose either. We in school we used to get Domino's. That was like the school lunch pizza basically, but I never really liked it. So yeah, I probably choose Pizza Hut or Papa John's. I don't know. It's hard to choose. They all taste similar to me.
Yeah, I don't know either. And then you just start. It's like drinking beer, right? When you're like, when you're younger, we won't say ages. You start with like the
Coors
cheap,
Light, yeah.
The cheap stuff, whatever. But then you develop a palate as you get older, or as you try things, and then you get into like craft beer, right? And I feel like maybe it's the same with pizza, where then you start having the good stuff, and then it's like, damn, it's really tough to time and a place. Don't get me wrong. I'm not over. I love old style.
Yeah.
So, but like time and a place for all of those things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like drinking Pabst, I still drink it sometimes, but it's definitely not my favorite beer.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's okay too, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm hesitant to ask this question because you're only one guy. So where can people like contact you to order it, or how does that work now?
I'm not open. So that's the biggest thing. Like, I'm not open yet. I'll be posting everything to Instagram, to social media, and then my website as far as how to order once I'm officially open.
Okay.
So I'm trying to automate it, make it as easy as possible for everybody. I have a buddy working on my website and working on some of that back end stuff. And like I said, it'll all be posted. It'll all be out there. I wish I could be more specific with everything, but I don't like to. Coming from beer and everything, it's like under promise, over deliver. Basically, like I don't want to say something and then have to like retract. So that's why I don't have any specifics really, because things can change. And so
especially right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I will make it. I will post all that information once it's available. Yeah.
Cool. Are you Jerry's Pizza? Is that it? Is that on
Jerry's
Instagram?
Pizza. Well, on my Instagram, it's Jerry's Pizza PDX.
Okay. Cool. Just so people know where to go. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. I have not tried one of the pizzas yet, but when you are open and going, I'll make sure I get one.